The box is green. I believe we are on. Let me make sure that we are. And everyone is going to let me know, I'm sure. There is the feed. It is on YouTube right now. Wow. It has been an eventful last hour. And I think I will probably explain what was going on. How's everybody doing?
Hi, everybody.
Is sound and everything okay for us? Make sure audio and video is good. Very good. Candy's had a pretty big week this week too. Yeah. So we're a little out of sorts right now because I've been in a real bad mood all day. And
really, you wouldn't want to be in this house today.
It's just been
ridiculous. It's
been a day. It's just, he says, holy crap, echo. Is there an echo? I hope there's not an echo. Let's see. I mean, there wasn't an echo last time. Are we good on echo, folks? Do you have an echo? I hope there's not.
Is it John echoing or me?
There wasn't an echo last time. Maybe, I know the first time we did it, the echo was actually caused by the internet, not us. So, okay, sounds good. All right, no echo.
Okay.
So we're just going to keep on going. So one of the things that I did not do yet, here it is. Let me get to this.
I'd like to say happy 4th of July, everybody.
Yes. So you make me look bad. I was going to do that. I was going to say happy 4th to everyone.
I like to say things first.
It's a working holiday for us, but that's okay because we love doing these. These, especially once we're out here, it's been really good. I realized now we set up your camera, can't even see the tank behind you. It's almost tragic, but that is what it is. So, all right, listen, folks. The first thing that I want to say, I do want to say happy 4th. Lisa beat me to it. But also, if you're not watching in the United States, then you probably don't know what that is. Today is the day where we celebrate our independence, and so that's what we're talking about when we say Happy 4th. That was the cat knocking something over. Her and I have never really been big celebrators of the 4th of July. It's not like we're not patriotic people. It's just we don't really make a big deal out of this holiday or New Year's. We just go to barbecues and we.
I mean, I believe in what it's about. I just don't feel like we have to shoot off fireworks and stuff. I really hate that they scare the animals and get all the cats worked up that are out there alone. And yeah, I'm just one of those people. But definitely believe in the 4th of July, respect it, but I just don't need the fireworks.
I mean, I like fireworks, but I've been to the fireworks in D.C. a couple times. And once you've seen those, it's kind of like everything else is just kind of like you can't beat that. But this is now that we have that out of the way, I want to get into what I had planned on talking about here today. And I'll go to a single camera here so you can relax there, Marie.
Get a drink of water.
So there is quite a bit to talk about. The first thing that I want to talk about, though, is there has been quite a few people. It hasn't been out of control, but there's been quite a few people that have commented on the stream that we run our mouths too much, we talk too much, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? I understand that. I do. This is what we like to do. We like to just kind of be wide open and just talk about whatever we want to talk about. And that's the thing that I enjoy the most about this. But I understand there are going to be some people that aren't going to want to see a stream that is that way. You want to see the main topic, and that's it. That's all you care about. And if that's you, I understand. So for you, not for anybody else, just for you, what I'm going to start doing is, isn't that what you are here for, is to talk? Yeah, that's true, Candy. But you know what I'm saying. People complain about it. They just say, get on with it and all this kind of stuff. Stop looking at the chat, John. Even though it's Candy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on Fridays because these streams are longer. It's going to take a while for YouTube to process it and put it back up as a regular re-upload video. What I'm going to start doing is downloading that on Friday mornings, editing everything except for the main topic out, and I'm going to release that on Fridays as its own video. And I'm going to do it right here on this channel. I know, I think Corey has experimented with that a little bit. I talked with him the other day about it. He brought up a good point because I said, why don't you do it for, like, why don't you just put them on your normal Aquarium Co-op channel? And he said, well, the way I look at it is if it's worthy of putting on my channel, it's worthy of me just doing a whole independent video about it. And I said, yeah, you know what, that does make sense. But either way, I am going to do it this way. I'm going to do it on this channel. I'm going to start re-uploading the stream, just the good part, for the people who want the substance only, not all of the other talk. I'm not going to delete the stream. I'm just going to re-upload it. So it's going to be like you're getting 4 videos from us every single week. So there you go. There's going to be 10 things. There's going to be the vlog. There's going to be the stream. And then there's going to be the re-upload of just the main topic from the stream. So we're back on 2 now, so stop picking your nose.
I am not. I'm actually trying to give the kitten some treats so she calms down.
I know. She's all over the place. So the next thing, oh boy. Okay, I guess I'll go right back to a single for this one because this is the one.
He likes to talk a lot without me.
But this is all about me. This part is all about me.
Yeah, I told him, well, last week, why didn't you just put it on a single for you for most of the time since you do all the talking? I'm just sitting there on the screen doing nothing.
But it makes it easier to look at the screen if you're on it. Oh, isn't he sweet? But it's true. So, okay, let's get into one of the main things that I want to talk about. One of the things that is in the title of this stream. I titled it Arowanas and Hard Drives. So, something like that. Arowana Care and Hard Drives. So, listen, in order to really talk about this properly, I have to tell the story. I put it back on a single. It's just on me. I'm going to talk about you in a second, King and Queens. I'm not going to talk about you, but I'm going to thank you for what you just did. But give me a second here before I do that. So Sunday morning, I got up and I did what I always do. I'm the first one to get up in this house on the weekends. Everybody else sleeps in like normal people should. I, for whatever reason, I have so many things that I want to do on the weekend days that I wake up and I can't stay in bed, which is weird because I have no problem staying in bed during the week when I have to go to work. But when it comes to weekends and doing YouTube stuff, KG Tropical stuff, I just can't wait to get out of the bed and do that. So my routine is I come downstairs, I let the dogs out, I make coffee, I rummage around a little bit, start the computer up and all that kind of stuff. Let the dogs in, get my first cup, go into the office, and what I will do every single Sunday morning is I will kind of do the very last minute viewing of 10 things. I do that every single Sunday. I watch it that one final time. And the reason why I do that, first of all, every YouTuber does that. If you don't, you should. You got to watch it to make sure you edit out all of the garbage and you didn't make any spelling errors or punctuation mistakes or anything like that. I have made mistakes on 10 things in the past, minor mistakes that just irk me. Like on the transitions, getting the numbers wrong and things like that. So I want to avoid that by watching it one last time and making sure everything's okay. So that's exactly what I did. I had my cup of coffee, the dogs came in, they laid down on their bed right next to my chair, and this is what I did. I put my hands behind my head and I pushed play and I kicked my feet out under my desk. When I did that, I kicked the wires that are connected from my computer to my hard drive. And the hard drive plummeted off the desk onto the floor and died. I didn't know it died. At first, when this happened, I thought, oh no, here we go. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. I am one of those people, Lisa can tell you, I do not panic until I have a reason to panic. That's just my nature. That's the way I am. You can put me in the most horrible situation, I'm not going to panic unless I know that there's a reason to panic. And with this situation, I didn't panic yet because it's like, okay, there's the hard drive. It's on the floor. It's not like it blew up into 100 pieces. Everything was okay. I picked it up, put it back on the desk, and went on with my day. Pushed play on 10 things, kicked my feet back again, just like I normally would. Everything was normal, and it wouldn't play. The video would not play. And the reason why it wouldn't play is because I have all of my video footage. I have my video libraries for Final Cut, which is what I use. Everything about YouTube is on this hard drive. Everything. Logos, photos, thumbnails, everything is on that hard drive. And it would not play. It wouldn't do anything, wouldn't even move. It was frozen. So I'm messing around with it, messing around. Again, not panicking. She comes down. What'd you wake up at, like 11? Whatever. She comes down, and she knows just by the look on my face. She's like, oh, Lord, what's wrong? And I explained to her what was happening. I said, but it's okay. I'm going to fix it. Not a problem. No big deal. And moved on with my day. Throughout the day, I kept trying to mess with it, but we were doing a lot of other stuff that day too, like moving Marie's tank. You're back on two. Moving Marie's tank out here, getting the 240 up and running, getting things situated out here was happening that day. And so I didn't really have time for it to really bother me. I had made the decision when you got up. I said, there's not going to be a 10 things today because I just don't know how I'm going to do it. And as the day went on, I thought, there's going to be a moment where I'm going to be able to settle down and I'm going to be able to relax and I can get this thing set up. It's going to be fine. And maybe I'll upload 10 things later on that day. I couldn't get it. And I still didn't panic. I said, this is what I'm going to do.
I panicked.
Well, yeah, you panicked. But I said, I'm going to take it in on Monday. And I'm going to have to buy a new hard drive. No big deal. I'll buy a new hard drive. I will get the people to take all of the data that is on the hard drive now that's broken and just move it over to the new one. Again, no big deal. We miss a week of 10 things. It's horrible. I hate that. I do not want that to happen. But it is what it is. You just have to write that off sometimes, and you have to say it is what it is. We get to Monday. I go to work like normal, take the hard drive with me. After work, I go in, take it into the guys, and I say, please, whatever's on this, take it off, and let's put it on a hard drive, on a new one. And the guy said, well, I have to crack it open. Is that going to be okay? I said, yeah, do whatever you got to do. I don't care. I know I have to buy a new one, so it's fine. So he takes it in the back. I'm walking around shopping. And he comes back out after about 15 minutes. And I swear to you, it was a scene where you're at the hospital and you have a loved one that's being operated on, and it's a very risky surgery. And I've never been through this, but the doctor, you've seen it in movies, the doctor comes out and to give you the news of what's going on with the surgery. This is what this was like. And the guy comes out from the back and he looks over at me and he says, he didn't say anything. He just said, it's gone. So basically. And
it was in a million pieces. He brings it home and it's like all kinds of pieces.
Scrap metal.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, he came out and gave me my reason to panic. We're back on 2 now. Yeah. Gave me my reason to panic. At that point, it was good that you weren't with me. Nobody was with me.
No, I got the text. I had to hear about it through text, and I felt so bad for him because I knew how much he put into that. Everything he had on it. I was like, I have a few things still saved on my phone, but really, it's not going to do anything.
When I say everything was on that, I mean everything. And it wasn't like a bunch of personal stuff. We didn't have like graduation photos and baby photos, not all that stuff. This was exclusively KG Tropicals, the KG Tropicals YouTube channel, even stuff from our old website, everything is in there. And it was all gone. And so I did buy a new hard drive that day, and I went home and I cried a little. I didn't cry, but I felt like crying. I could have cried because it's like, it's gone. It's everything. Everything is gone. And the thing is, we have like all the BRoll footage that we use. If you're not a video editor, what's BRoll? This right here that you see right now would be considered A-roll or talking head footage. Primary. This is like the primary shot. And then if you put something over top of this while we're talking and you put a video over top of that, that is B-roll. And so if you've watched a single episode of 10 Things, that is all B-roll, and we put ourselves over top of it and stuff like that, and we have a lot of fun.
B-roll that I got.
Yeah, I mean, and that was,
I went all over the place to get that B-roll. I went as far up as Pennsylvania, and
some of that B-roll was from Rachel's house. I mean, there was
Yeah.
stuff all over the place. And there was probably 100 hours worth on there. I mean, it was absolutely insane. And that's all gone. And so, you know, I was devastated for about 15 minutes. And then it was like, okay, well, this is what we've got. This is where we're at. So what do we do now? And what we do now is we move on. I mean, we move forward. We just press reset. That's really the only thing we can do. We can't sit here and cry about it. We can't, we're not going to quit. I mean, it is what it is. The stuff
not
is gone.
quitters. We're just going to go to different places and get more B-roll. Hey, that's a great reason to go to other fish stores, right?
And you know what? At least, I mean, it's going to force us to be creative again. That's the thing. We have to come up with new ideas and do new things. I mean, it is what it is. That's what we're going to have to do. So I have said a couple of times that this possibly could turn out to be a good thing. Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, what's that the definition of? Everybody knows that. So it's like, well, okay, now we have to restart. We have to start all over. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, there will be an episode of 10 Things that'll upload this Sunday. Mm-hmm. There will be a Flog that will be next week, Wednesday. We will stream next Thursday. Everything's going to go back to normal, but things are going to look very different. The Flog, that's the one that has me more hurt than anything else, because B-roll we can get anytime. But the other thing that I lost was every video that I've ever done on YouTube I had stored on that hard drive, every single one of them. Now, there were some like our shipment walkthroughs from back in the shop and stuff like that. I didn't save those. But every single video I've ever uploaded to YouTube was on that hard drive, and now it's gone. That
So
doesn't...
now we'll just watch YouTube if we ever want to see our old videos.
Well, but see, that it's still not a thing. The reason why I kept them was because, do you remember MySpace? I mean, things happen on the internet, and things change.
Sure.
And you never know when a new platform's going to come out and YouTube is going to become MySpace. I mean, things like that happen. If that happens, I've got all those videos that could be uploaded onto whatever this new platform is. But that's not a problem because I've still got them, because YouTube is fortunate, or not, we are fortunate that YouTube allows us to download our own videos for free. We don't have to have some kind of hacker website or some virus-filled website to do it. We can just pull them straight from YouTube, download them in the same quality as they were originally. So that's not a problem. But the Flog, what I do with the Flog is I go through and I film everything. Everything that I do out here in the fish room, I film. Now, I don't film myself feeding the fish, but actually she feeds the fish. But if I'm going to take the new filter out of the box, I film that. If I'm putting water in something, if I'm doing this, doing that, I do all of that. And then I piece it all together at the end of the day or the end of the week, and I put that together as the Flog. Right. All of that's gone. So I think I have a little bit of it still on the SD card in my camera. I hope that's the case, but it is... yeah, it's almost all gone. So the Flog is going to be one of those things that is going to be basically, hey, my hard drive exploded. It's my fault. I can't show you a lot of the stuff that I did, but here's where we're at now, and I'll show everything then. So there we go. The Flog is still happening. 10 Things is still happening. Maybe there will be a day where we'll bring back You Ought to Know, but you know what? You ought to know that something had to give, and that was the series that we had to delete to do the Flog and to do this stream. So before we move on to the next bit here, I want to talk about King and Queens. I want to talk about Scott and Liz. They came in with the $10 super chat. The reason why we come to live chat is to get to know you better. Off script, your videos provide plenty of info on fish keeping. We love everything. Okay. We love enjoying you two lives. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much, Scott.
And
Liz.
I know, just because of the feedback that I get, I know that the majority of the people feel that way. That they like the free form, we just talk about anything. I mean, Corey does the same thing, and he gets 1,000 people watching his. So he talks a lot more fish than we do too, but it just kind of is. It's like a wide open, we just talk about whatever we're going to talk about. But I also do understand that there's a lot of people that want to skip past all that stuff because they don't care. And
They just want to talk about fish stuff or aquarium stuff, and they don't want to hear about our life and stuff like that. But I think that's what makes us who we are. I mean, we started off as a family in a 2-car garage, breeding African cichlids and getting our own fish store, So that's what makes us who we are. Yes, John?
yeah, no, I wasn't stopping you. I was letting you know you were on camera by yourself. I took it off so that nobody saw me vape because I was vaping and I didn't want anybody to see it.
He was doing this to me like I'm supposed to know, these signs and stuff for.
From now, it was going to be that, right? From now on, this means you're on camera by yourself.
But I thought he was like, wait. So I'm like,
No, but I do want to comment about what we were just talking about, though. I got an email I got a comment on YouTube last night from somebody, I think it was on last week's stream,
Okay.
and they said, the internet where I live is very expensive, and
saw that.
I can't watch you for 2 hours not talk about fish, or something like that. And so, therefore, I will be unsubscribing. I hope you understand. I don't understand that. I mean, you want to unsubscribe, that's fine. But unsubscribing to a channel because of that is kind of weird. It's kind of silly because it's not like this is all we're doing. We're putting out 4 videos a week. So you don't like this one particular thing that we do, don't watch that. I'm not going to be mad at you if you don't watch it. Look at 10 things and then look at this. The numbers are way off. I mean, the people that watch 10 things, it's multiplied by 10 compared to how many watch this. So I understand this isn't for everybody, but don't unsubscribe because of this. That's what I'm trying to avoid. That's why we're doing all of this, is because I want to stop losing people from the stream. But anyway, so that brings me to the next bit here. And this is the part that's tough. I can't figure out how exactly to talk about it, but this accident could not have happened at a more ironic time, because on Saturday we set up the Patreon.
Right.
And the whole reason, if you were here last week with us and you stayed later in the stream, I saved it for the loyal followers that stayed till the end. I said it last week that we were debating, her and I, whether we should start a Patreon page. The whole purpose of the page is to continue the growth of this channel, continue upgrading this fish room. We got a lot of big money coming in here soon. I mean, like big money going out. I mean, not big money coming in. A lot of things are happening that are costing a fortune to do, and we want to always be pushing to get better. We want to that's what motivates me, is to constantly put out better and better material every single week. And in order to do that, it costs a fortune to do that. And so we started up a Patreon. This is not support us so that we can do this for a living. That's not what we're trying to do. Anybody who does that, there's nothing wrong with it. You're fine. I'm glad for you. Our reason for doing this is to generate funds to continue upgrading what we're doing here. Computers, lighting, soundproofing, all of the different things, traveling around to do different things. That's where this money's going to go. The money's not going to go in our pocket. It's going to go towards continuing to grow KG Tropicals.
Yeah, bettering KG Tropicals.
That's right. So if you are someone who believes in what we're doing, you want to support what we're doing, you might already be a member on here. If you are, that's great. Don't worry about it. It's fine. But if you're somebody who you want to see these things happen and you want to see them faster, consider becoming a patron on the Patreon page. I'm not going to read through the tiers, but I think we came up with some pretty interesting perks for the tiers on Patreon. If you're not familiar with how the site works, you can contribute however much you want. The different levels of financial commitment get you different perks. Whereas YouTube, everybody gets the same thing, and that's great. But here, it's like, if you pay this amount, we're going to do this. If you pay this amount, we're going to do this. And I think some of them are actually pretty cool. The ideas that we came up with, and one of them is absolutely ludicrous, but I don't think anybody's going to join at that tier. But we actually said, hey, the top tier, we will do a personal, just us, a 2-on-1 or 2-on-2. If you have a husband and wife couple that are doing this, personal live streams just for you. That's what the top tier is going to get. I think I said once a month, and I think we'd do like 15, 20 minutes, something like that. But it would be just us, nobody else. And we would not be doing this where you have to type in what you want to say and then we answer it. No, we would actually do it like by way of FaceTime or Google Hangout or something like that, where we're actually talking to each other. So I think that'd be a lot of fun. I don't expect to be doing that, but if there's somebody that's that crazy that wants to join at that level.
Nice name to call someone that would do that.
They're crazy if they do that. But you know what? They're a good kind of crazy, and I like that kind of crazy. So, but again, it's one of those things. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I do know that there are a lot of people out there that are supporting what we do, and they want to see us continue to grow. And that's going to be one of the ways that we're going to be able to do that. Now, on the topic of Patreon,
we have a few people we need to shout out.
we do. And the
very first person that joined.
Yeah, you do it. I'll
The
give it
very
to you.
first person that joined was Elizabeth Welch, and she is from Virginia. And thank you so much, Elizabeth. You and I, we actually communicated for briefly, but I wanted to say thank you, and we really appreciate that. We appreciate the support. And then we have Chad Krotz. Right, Krotz. Yeah, I want to make sure I said that right, because for some reason I was like, I had the name Scott in my head, and John was like, no, it's Chad. So anyways, thank you very much, Chad. We really appreciate your support, and looking forward to, what we
Hopefully
do.
being worthy of the money.
Exactly. And then there is Allie Patton, and I mean, come on, Allie. You are constantly just doing things for us. You're always supporting us and sending cute little toys to John. And, I just want to say thank you very much, Allie. John, would you like to say anything?
Oh, it's your show now. You're passing it off to me, huh? No, you know what? I think the thing that needs to be mentioned is that Chad Krotz, Elizabeth is the first. That's the first thing that has to be mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
She is the first to become a patron, and I don't even know how she knew about it. It was like,
She was on the live stream last week.
well, but yeah, we didn't have it then, though. I mean, we set it up 2 days later.
And
I don't even know how she found
looked
out
on
about it.
Tank Talk, Facebook,
Okay.
because we communicated through there.
She is the first. She will always be the first. That will never be taken away. That's set in stone. She is the first patron and always will be. Chad Krotz and Allie Patton, you're absolutely right. Allie Patton is she spoils us. I mean, it's just it's
we are
absolutely
very
crazy.
spoiled by Allie.
Chad Krotz and Allie Patton are both not only patrons, but they are also longtime members on the YouTube channel. So
Oh, and I know, and for some reason, I don't know why, but I keep wanting to call Chad Scott.
no,
Sorry, Chad, I do apologize.
Scott is king and queens.
I
King and
know.
Queen. I always want to say King and Queens because of the show, the King of Queens, Leah Remini, Kevin James.
Well, a funny story here. People that like to combine words and said, well, I'm not going to say what I would call you as far as Chad and Scott put together, but so my daughter-in-law decided we were watching a baseball game, and she wanted to say the bases are loaded, but at the same time she wanted to say full at first. She was like, the bases are floated. It was so funny.
She's been watching baseball for like a month. This is all brand new to her.
For her, she was like, she thought she was saying the right thing by saying the bases were full at first, but then she realized right in the middle of getting ready to say full, she realized it was loaded, and she didn't think we heard her do that. But it's just an inside joke now. We're always like, the bases are floated.
We went to a game 2 days ago and we kept yelling that. They weren't sitting with us, but we had seats all over the whole stadium. But Yeah, that was Adam Eaton bobblehead day. Had to go and get that.
Oh,
But-
thank you very much, Max Reynolds. I appreciate it. Color it myself.
What do we got? Oh, Lisa is pretty and she has good hair. Yeah, sure. I mean, can't argue with that.
Hey, Rack.
And so Rack is here. So that's going to bring us to our next thing that we need to discuss.
Yeah, big news.
We found out 5 minutes before going live that we're going to have our first in-studio guest in here with us. Not Google Hangouts, not through Skype, not any of that. Sitting right here. And that guest is going to be Rack Cross from River Life. He texted me 5 minutes before we went live to let me know that it's a go. He's going to be here. His wife has a conference in D.C. and so he's going to come with her, and they're going to come down here. And
Awesome.
I don't know if she's going to be with him. I think that'd be fun. But yeah,
It's going to be so much fun. And talk about having the best voice. Oh my gosh.
He should be on the radio.
He's going to just like completely take over the live stream that night. I can tell.
I'm sorry. I was just reading a stupid comment. The guy was trying to be nice, and then he went to another place. So anyway, all right. Why do you look at the chat, John? I don't know. I don't know why I look at the chat. So I guess before we get into Arowanas, everybody's like, oh, God, come on, get on with it. Okay, there was somebody complaining of an echo, but they're saying no echo here. I don't know what the echo thing is. I really do think that there's an internet thing that can cause echoes. I watched the whole stream last week. There was not a single echo at all, but you know, the internet does weird things. So hopefully there's not an echo. I don't think that our microphones are echoing off of each other. So I don't know. But anyway, first guest going to be in here, Rack Cross. That's going to be a lot of fun. Who knows how long we're going to go that night, but it's going to be a long night for him. I don't know if they're going to stay the night here in King George or what, but that's going to be a good time to have our first guest in here. We're going to have to get another microphone, another camera, and all this, and whatever, but that's where Patreon comes in. But the other thing that we have to talk about is that we have made some significant progress out here in the fish room that you would have seen on the Flog if the computer didn't do what he did.
See you later, Scott.
But we did get her tank out here, which is so exciting, and it looks better than it ever has. We put a different light on it than we had before, and it's definitely making a difference, but it's still not the light that we want. The three nano tanks behind her, you can recognize those from, they used to be behind me. And is Candy leaving? Is she done for the night?
No, she was
Scott's
calling
saying-
Scott by.
Oh. So the three tanks behind her are from the office. I said I was going to leave Lou in there, but I didn't. I brought him out here. And I still have some work. Those three tanks that are full of water that are behind her right now, I brought them out here today. So they're still not perfect. They're still, I still got to do some work on them to get them looking good, but also the lights are kind of screwy. They mess with the camera and all that.
And
So
I had to put a makeshift lid on top of Lou's.
Yep, because this room has cats in it. So, but we also got this tank up and running, and that tank is the one that I'm just going to tell the story. I'm going to do it.
Which one?
The one I said we shall not speak of this,
Oh,
because you might be a stupid person like me, and you could learn from my stupidity.
I really don't think anyone would ever do that. I really don't think anyone would be that stupid.
Well, I'm going to do my best to justify it. So here it is. There is a long hose that goes from that overflow right there. It looks like a little white box, but that's actually the overflow for this tank. And it's hooked to an 1.5 inch hose that goes down to the sump. Well, the hose is really long, and it was too long, and I didn't have time to cut it. And I spoke with somebody from Custom Aquariums, and they said if we have these baffles that you can put in the overflow. So I'm like, okay, if there's a baffle, that just means there's something in there to kind of limit the flow. I took my fingers like this, and I put them into the overflow. and it stopped. Now, what was I trying to stop? It was a huge gurgling sound that was coming from the overflows, and it was horrifying. I mean, you could hear it in the house. It's not the tank's fault, it's the way it was set up. It was basically the overflow would fill up, and then it would all empty down at one time. So it was almost like a flushing toilet. Every 20 seconds or so, it would go blah, 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 and all the water would go down in there.
So John had this bright idea.
You just wait a minute. So I put my fingers down in the hole, and it made it stop. Everything flowed perfectly. So I said, well, I just need something to put in there that'll kind of limit the flow. It's not a permanent solution. This is something just for the stream. That's all I wanted to do, was stop the sound for the stream, and then I would fix it afterwards. So I started looking around to find something that I could put up in there that would kind of limit the flow. And I found a little cat toy.
Do you have one to show them? I'm sure they know exactly what.
I don't know. It was a little ball about the size of a ping pong ball that has a little bell in it. And when the cat bats it around, it makes the bells, and it ringy-dingy-dingy, and it's cute. I saw that, and I said, that's perfect. I'm going to put that in there. So I put that in there. What do you think happened? Straight down the drain.
Ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding, all the way down.
No, it didn't. It just went right down the drain. And so I'm like, okay, well, that was a fail. What I thought happened, and the reason why, again, I don't panic. The reason why I didn't panic was because I figured it just went all the way down, and it's in my filter sock. You know, whatever. I'll get it out later on. No big deal. And then all of a sudden, everything starts to fill up and up and up and up. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. She walked in right before this happened. I vocalized, no, 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 no. And I stopped, and I turned everything off, and everything balanced out. And I basically had to take everything apart and get that stupid little cat toy out of there, because I'm a stupid person. And I put a stupid ball down in there. And then it, rather than limiting the flow, it clogged everything up completely.
Yeah, and it even had holes in it.
So, but the bright side of the story is, since I had to take everything apart, I went ahead and cut the hose and shortened it so that it didn't have that long trap in it, and it's not making the sound anymore. So I fixed it while fixing the problem that I started. Listen, folks, if that story right there didn't get you all in on us, if we're willing to admit something stupid like that, I told her, I said, we will never speak of this. We will never tell any of our friends.
He was pretty upset about it.
We will never tell anyone. This is the most embarrassed I've ever been. It was embarrassing to happen, even in front of her. If she had not come out, I would have never told her. I just would have acted like it didn't happen. But so, you know what? There is no doubt we are keeping it real with you. If you didn't think that before, you better think it now, because we will tell even the embarrassing stories on here. And that one is pretty embarrassing. But anyway, are we all caught up with everything? I don't think we have anything else to talk about before we get into Arowanas. And then the super chat pops through. I'll let you take that one.
Dan, is it Dupuy? Dupuy? Ooh, that sounds really nice. Dan Dupuy. I missed the first 30 minutes, but wishing you guys the best 4th. Can't get enough of this channel. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for your $5 super chat, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the stream.
Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, did we have any patrons pop through yet that we have to announce here on the stream? We will. We'll do it. Any patrons pop through while we're on live, we will definitely shout you out, just like we would super chats and all that.
I don't get the alerts, so I wouldn't know. Only you do.
Well,
I just
put the email address on there. So, yeah, all right. Everybody's saying cat ball toys. We should all send John cat ball toys. Don't you dare.
Oh, you can send them, but I'll give them to the cats.
Yeah. Next week on the stream, we've got a big pile of them. That'd be hilarious. You know what? We have all made mistakes. Some of us won't admit our mistakes, and some of us try to hide our mistakes, and then a half an hour later decide we're going to go ahead and talk about our mistakes. But you know what? I figure this whole channel is our experiences, and
You have a fly on your head.
we are not afraid to share our fails with you. Now I'm like looking at my head. So anyway, speaking of fails, let me just say this real quick. Last week's 10 things, you know, the one that got deleted, I have a fuzzy on my head the whole time in that video. And it's like, I'm not doing it all over again. So I have a fuzzy on my head through the whole thing. Anyway, speaking of mistakes that we make, let's get into Arowanas, because that's what people are here for. And then, you know, of course, as soon as we're going to move on, it comes through John Woodside with the $10 super chat. It's just like,
Thank
hey,
you.
here's some money. I'm not
Thank
gonna
you.
say anything. I'm just gonna give it to you because I like to. So thank you so much for that, Mr. Woodside. I'm like freaking out, thinking there's bugs on me now.
I'll
So
let you know. You just do what you have to do.
Arowanas. I think it is appropriate. This is my thank you for saving my fish. Well, see, there you go. That's awesome.
Awesome.
So I think the appropriate thing to do to talk about Arowanas is to tell the stories first of why we love them so much. Because I don't know if you would call them your favorite fish, but I know I certainly would. And I have said that a million times on this channel. So what I want to do is tell the story again. I think I've told it on this channel 100 times. I'm going to put it on me so that people can't see you rolling your eyes. So why do I love Arowanas? The reason why I love Arowanas as much as I do, the reason why I am getting, hopefully next week, I don't know, hopefully next week, an 8-foot tank for right there. The whole purpose for getting that tank is for Arowanas. Every time I think about that tank, I get excited. It's a different feeling. It's kind of like going to bed Christmas evening or Christmas Eve when you're 9 years old. That feeling that you have is the way I feel when I think about Arowanas. When her and I met and we got our own place together, I started having that feeling. And I told her I got to get an aquarium, and the whole reason why I got to get it is for Arowanas. I mean, that's the feeling that I get with these fish. It's the warm and fuzzy. That's the only way I can describe it. It's the warm and fuzzy feeling that you get when you see a particular thing, whatever that thing is. Arowanas are what do it for me. And what introduced me to Arowanas was I used to work for a cable company, and my boss that was in charge of me
Obviously.
well, thank you for that, was a wealthy guy. He was involved in an accident that was the fault of someone else, and he got a huge settlement. I don't know how much it was. Who cares? He was significantly older than I was, too. I think he was in his 40s or 30s, and I was 18. So he decided to set up an aquarium, and he set up a big giant tank as his first tank. When I say big giant, we're talking about 1993 here. We're talking about 150 or 180 gallons. I'm not sure which one it was, but back then that was like the biggest I'd ever seen in somebody's house. And it stayed that way for a long time. If you had a 55-gallon tank back then, you were legit, at least in my eyes. He was setting up a 180-gallon tank. He called me on the radio and said, hey, meet me over at this address, which I thought was for something to do with work. I show up, and it was actually... I was meeting him in a pet store. He was at the pet store to pick out fish for his new tank, which I had no interest in whatsoever. And I could care less. I didn't even know why. He called me over there to do that. But while he was there, I started wandering around, and I happened upon 2 large tanks in the back of this store. They were 150s, 180s. I don't know what they were. They were huge. And one had an Arowana in it, a silver Arowana. That's what we're going to be talking about here today, silver Arowanas, folks. We're not going to be talking about Asians. I'm sorry. We live in the stupid United States where we can't have Asian Arowanas. But I shouldn't say stupid United States on the 4th of July.
I know, right?
But we're talking about silver Arowanas. These 2 tanks, there was a silver Arowana, and the other tank had a lionfish, neither of which I had ever seen before. And I was like, that lionfish is cool. It looks like an art project. It's pretty neat. But this one looks like something straight out of Jurassic Park. I don't even think Jurassic Park was out yet, but it was something I had never seen before. When I thought about aquarium fish, I thought about goldfish, I thought about guppies. I wasn't thinking that you could have something like that in a home aquarium. And it just absolutely blew my mind. And ever since then, that was 1993, ever since then, I've been completely obsessed over this fish. It is my favorite. If I could only have one, that would be the one. Now, a lot of people know us as African cichlid people, and we are. We love those too. But what started it all was arowanas. And if it wasn't for arowanas, we would probably have still junk in this garage, and we would not be talking to people on YouTube, and we'd be normal. We wouldn't be crazy like we are. So that was a special.
I don't even know if we'd still be together. Fish
Probably
have
not.
kept us together. Yeah.
That's true.
'Cause you're hard to deal with.
I know. Yeah, you're the easiest person in the world to deal with.
know.
But yeah, arowanas are they are that fish that give me that feeling. And don't be weird about it. You know what I mean when I say that feeling. It's that warm and fuzzy, heartfelt, special thing that I experience when I think about or when I see arowanas. So that is why I am obsessed with this fish. And that is how I was introduced to these fish. I'm going to turn it over to the boss. And our stories are similar, but then not so similar. But I'm going to let you tell it. And I'm going to sit here and watch you.
Say what? You mean my Arowana story?
How you were introduced to arowanas. Why do you like arowanas?
Yeah, here we go. It's kind of boring. Anyways, John came home. Let me just tell you what happened. Like the very first time we ever had a fish tank. John came home one day and said, I think I'm going to get a fish tank. And I was like, okay, that's fine. When I wasn't into fish, so when he said he was going to come home, get a fish tank and come home with it, I was thinking something about this, like, 10, 20 gallon. I didn't know they even made fish tanks that were 125 gallons. So when he said, I'm going to get a 125 gallon tank, it didn't really register in my mind that he was going to come home with this huge tank. So, I already had the living room set up perfect, decorated perfect. I was happy with what I had going on. And then I had to let him put a 125 gallon tank in the living room. So that was a big adjustment for me. And then he decided what fish he wanted, and he got an arowana, a couple angels, and I was like, okay, not that pretty of a fish. I actually remember saying, that fish is not that pretty. And I guess it grew on me a little bit, because then I went with him to, where was it? Not House of Tropicals. It was...
Are we going to say names?
I don't have anything bad to say.
Oh.
We went down to Richmond. That's where it was, Azaleas. And there was this arowana there. And there's this thing with when John has something, I like to have something too. I mean, that's why we have 2 chihuahuas. So anyway, I saw this little arowana. It was about this big. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's the cutest little thing. And he was looking around, and I just kept looking at that arowana, and he didn't even know it. But I went, and I had the owner, or whoever was working there at the time, I can't remember their name. I said, I want this fish, and they bagged it up for me. And I showed him a bag with an arowana in it. And he's like, oh, I don't know if that's going to work, but we can try it. So we take the arowana home, we put it in the tank with his arowana, and I would say Solly was probably, about 3 inches bigger than Pip? Because Pip was only about this big, and Solly was probably already that big.
My fish was probably about a foot, and yours was
I don't think Solly
7
was
inches.
Foot
Yes, he was.
yet.
And let me just kind of add something here real quick, because she was just telling lies to you.
I don't lie.
I told her this will not work. I didn't tell her it might, okay, we'll try it. It might work. I told her this is a bad idea.
Well,
And she was like, well, I want to do it anyway. So
I didn't really hear that part.
yeah, exactly.
So I got that Arowana anyways. I named it Pip. I thought, it's going to be cute. Now I like Arowanas. It's my Arowana. We get home, we stick her in the tank, and immediately she starts getting picked on.
It was within 30 seconds.
It was so fast, and I started freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I can't let her die. So what did we do? We went to Petco or PetSmart, and I got my very first ever fish tank. And because it was kind of an emergency, I settled for a 55-gallon until we could get, something bigger, make it all work out. But yeah, that's how I got my first Arowana, and I fell in love with her. She was a good fish.
Now, to continue on with that story.
I did not tell any lies.
Well, you didn't tell any lies, but you just didn't tell the whole story.
I do leave things out sometimes. I really think it's called some of the timers, because I don't mean to leave things out. I just forget.
Well, yeah, that's okay, whatever. But the good ending to that story, the story starts out sad, and then it gets better, and then it gets really good, and then not so good. But and that's kind of the story of almost every fish keeper's experience with fish. But one of the things that is known throughout Arowana keepers, silver Arowana keepers, is putting two of them together can be bad. It can be bad. And I always had only one because I tried it when I was a kid to put two together and it didn't work. So I had always just kept one. And when she got that fish, I said, this is going to be bad. You better have a contingency plan because this is going to go bad.
I didn't have a plan. I didn't even know anything about fish.
If they were closer in size, I think it might have been better odds that it would have worked out. But they were very far off. I mean, my fish was almost twice the size of yours. And I don't know if they were males or females. I don't even know how to tell the difference between males and females.
Mine was a girl.
I don't even care.
I named her Pip.
But I knew it was going to go bad, and it did go bad. We put yours in a 55, and mine was in the 125. And we had this whole plan. We're going to talk about plans as we move on with this discussion, but we had a plan of exactly what we were going to do with these fish, and we did exactly what we said we were going to do. We were eventually going to combine them when they were ready. We were going to combine them together into the 125, and then we were going to graduate both of them up to an 8-foot tank. And that was my dream. Like from childhood, it was my dream to have an Arowana in an 8-foot tank. And so we did exactly that. Her fish got healed up, and it was in that 55. How long was it in there? Maybe a year?
Yeah,
maybe not even that.
It wasn't very long.
It was,
not at all.
I don't know how long it was, but we ended up combining them together. They never bothered each other. They actually almost fell in love. They were swimming in harmony. They were always together, and it was awesome. But the first time we put them together,
no, they were not in love. It was bad. And yes, Chewy, it was definitely an impulse buy, for sure.
There's something sitting behind her that's yellow that's going up in that tank right now that was also another impulse buy. But anyway, we won't get into that. So that's how the story goes with the last Arowanas that we had. She bought that 55. We had them separate. We merged them together, let's just say a year later, into a 125. They got to be, I bet you they were 22 or so inches in that 125. Probably close to that. A 125-gallon tank is 6 feet long. I don't know what that translates to in metric for my friends that are overseas, but a 6-foot tank, actually that is a 6-foot tank right there. So if you want a reference, we had the two of them in that. That's a 240-gallon tank, but anyway, we had them in there. And in fact, the tank is sitting right there that we had the two of them together in for the longest time. And then we moved them up to an 8-foot tank, which was 8 feet long, 2 feet deep, and 2 feet tall. And they were perfect in that tank. They grew huge. Mine was, when he passed, I think I measured him at 30 inches, and yours was 27. somewhere around there.
She
So
was always smaller.
when we combined the two together again, they were similar in size. They were no longer mine twice the size of hers. They were very similar in size. And that's how we were able to do it. But the rule book will tell you, you just keep one. I've never been somebody that reads the rule books. I mean, I just don't. And Scott from King and Queen, I don't think he's here anymore, but you can watch any of his videos and you'll see two Arowanas living perfectly fine together. I mean, it's done all the time now, and that's good. And when I have my 8-foot tank, hopefully next week, I will have two in there. I'll buy them at the same time from the same place. They'll probably be from the same batch. That doesn't guarantee anything, but at least they'll be the exact same size. And hopefully that increases the odds of them doing well. I thought of even getting 3, but I'm just going to get 2 with the 2 Stingrays. So,
And I am not going to go get another one to put in there with his. Just not
Nope.
doing it because I've got my own tanks now that I'm going to be doing fun stuff with. So.
and I think they're going to be Drogon and Viserion. I think that's going to be their names. Because what's the
So
third
I
one?
guess
Rhaegal?
we do need to get a third one.
No. It's still just 2, Drogon and Viserion. So anyway, if you're somebody that is thinking about getting an Arowana, it has to be one of the more popular aquarium fish, home aquarium fish. And I think it's also should be at the top of the list of fish that is abused. And it's on our 10 Things episode. There's one reason and one reason only why this fish is abused. And it has nothing to do with water parameters. It has nothing to do with diet. It has everything to do with the size of aquarium that they're in. That is the biggest mistake, and it has to be the most common mistake that people make with Arowanas. They have this idea that fish only grow to the size of the tank. They have this idea that it's going to stop growing at a certain point and it's going to be okay. And it's not. This is a death sentence for these fish. So if you are even contemplating getting an Arowana, have the right tank before you even do it. Yeah. What is the right size tank? If you don't have at least 6 feet, don't even let the idea enter your mind. And I'm going to be honest, I don't like an Arowana in a 6-foot tank. I've done it multiple times. I personally don't like it. But one of the things that I have right now at 45 years old, I just turned 45, is patience. I have more patience now than I've ever had in my entire life. I need to have patience being with that woman every single day. So
you have a fly on your head.
You're doing that on purpose.
Don't say what you said about me.
It would be very easy because we own 3 6-foot tanks. We've got this one and we've got 2 125s. I could have bought Arowanas a year ago and been raising them up ever since and then graduating them up into the 8-foot tank. The reason why I say don't do that is because things happen. Things happen. You have no control over it. Maybe when you're planning on getting your 8-foot tank, maybe your water heater breaks and you can't afford the tank anymore, or you have to move, or you lose your job, or you break your leg, or you never know what it is, and the one that ends up suffering for that is the fish. So my personal advice to anyone that is considering buying an Arowana, do not do it unless you already have the tank that it's going to grow up in and be able to live a full life in the whole time, which is why I'm waiting until I get my 8-footer to get these Arowanas. There are people that would argue even an 8-foot tank is not big enough. I disagree. That my personal opinion is I disagree. I think an 8-foot tank should be pretty much like the minimum for an Arowana.
Yeah.
Silver
I agree with
Arowanas.
that.
Asians no, and Jardinis no, because neither one of those get as big as silver Arowanas. These are fish that are known in the wild to approach 4 feet in length. I've never seen one that big. I've seen them in public aquariums that are in multi-thousand-gallon aquariums, and they're only like maybe 36 inches. So that's as big as I've ever seen. The biggest one I've ever seen was about 36 inches. What are you laughing at?
The chat.
What's going on with this?
Awesome.
What is it?
There's just some awesome people in here. that-
They're making fun of me, aren't they?
They just think I need to get you for back talking and stuff.
She will. So, So yes, me as the YouTuber trying to give you the most sound advice possible, don't buy one don't buy one with a plan to upgrade the tank. Just wait until you have the tank.
It might not happen.
You never know what's going to happen. Arowanas, in my experience, and in Lisa's experience, are easy to keep. From a water parameter, from a diet, from a, as long as it gets along with the other fish in the tank. The biggest problem with arowanas is not water parameters. Oh, my pH was too high. That's why my arowana died. No, they're absolutely one of the hardiest fish I've ever kept. They're very similar to your larger South American cichlids that are just very hardy. Arowanas are the same way. They're not a sensitive fish. Not good for the beginner because the beginner's not going to have a big enough tank. But they are an easy fish to keep as long as you can keep them in the tank.
And make sure that if you do put fish in a tank with them, they can't fit in their mouth.
Because it's going in if they can.
I did lose an angel once.
Yep, she did. Again, told her not to do it. She did it anyway. And guess what happened?
That's true.
It's definitely true. So the hardest part about keeping arowanas, and believe me, I can attest to this multiple times, is not keeping them. It's keeping them in the tank. They are jumpers. Their nickname is water monkeys. Mm-hmm. The reason why they have that nickname is because in the wild, they will vault themselves out of the water and snipe insects off of branches. There's videos on YouTube of them doing it. There's like BBC documentaries and stuff like that. I don't know if it's BBC. It might be Nature Channel or whatever, but Natural Geographic. They're on there. They're not hard to find. These fish are jumpers. If you don't have a large enough tank for them, and if you don't have secure lids for them, they're gone. Trust me on this. I've had it happen multiple times. The fish that we've been talking about this whole time, we had Sully and Pip. Sully was my guy that I had for years. He was massive. He's in my second and third video that I ever did on this channel. Go watch that. You'll see him in there. Both of them you'll see in there. He jumped out of the tank Father's Day. Found him hard as a brick.
That was a dumb move on his part. That was your fish.
He had it made in there. Pip died like 2 weeks later, and we never figured out what it was. We say it was a broken heart because she just croaked. There was no choking on anything. Sad. There was no suffering. It was just 1 minute she's alive, next minute not alive anymore. Yeah. So it's kind of like those stories you hear of the old people that are married for 54 years and husband dies and the wife dies 3 days later. I mean, that's what we attributed it to.
It was so sad. I had a beautiful funeral for her and everything just because she became like family. They
really do. The big fish have more of a feeling of a pet.
Like Oscar did.
Oscars, the larger Central and South American cichlids, monster fish, just because they're so big. I mean, my Arowana was bigger than my Chihuahuas. I mean, he was probably capable of eating one of my Chihuahuas. So keeping them in the tank is the most difficult part. I want to talk to you for a second about the most ridiculous story I've ever heard about an Arowana, and I don't think I've ever even shared this with you, but you'll get a kick out of it. Do we have a couple of super chats we need to do real quick before I get into this? Because I think I missed some. Another one from Dan Dupuis was the banter between you two is hilarious. Just take my money. I love that.
Thank you.
And then another person that just wants to give up money, Moonstone KK, with the $10 super chat. He's the one that got in trouble earlier, so that's very nice of you.
I don't think so.
Said something weird that got deleted.
No, I don't think that was, no.
I thought it was.
No.
Anyway, who cares? We're okay with you now.
But we don't want to say someone did something wrong if they didn't do something wrong, John.
I thought that was the name.
It was not him.
I want to do something real quick. I'm going to turn the air conditioning on in here, and I want you all to tell me if this is something that you can hear, if it's something that you can hear easily, and if it's going to affect the quality of this live stream. So anyway, retracted, not deleted. Okay, yeah, forget about what I said earlier. So the most ridiculous Arowana story.
Steve Davis, thank you. Thank you, Steve Davis.
Steve Davis?
Yes.
I don't know who
You
that
guys
is.
are epic. More top 10 videos, please. P.S. Your videos must have saved my fish over and over again. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, sorry about missing that. I did see that, and I forgot about it once we were thanking the Super Chats. The top 10 videos are definitely coming. It is just last week we missed. First one. Very, very rough, but soft humming. Okay, good. If it's, as long as it's not out of control, then let's leave it that way. Let me tell you this story, because you're going to like this story. The most ridiculous Arowana story I've ever heard. Not Arowana story, but Arowana advice.
Maybe you should turn it to just you, since you're going to be the
Okay,
only one
fine.
talking.
Why, you want to have a vape? Is that what it is? She
No, I
doesn't
don't vape. I just want to drink the water.
So I was in a fish store. I'm not going to say which one it was. It is still in business, and I'm surprised that it's still in business. But anyway, there was a guy that worked at this store who I liked a lot. I thought he was a really cool guy. He was also bald. Maybe there was a connection there. I don't know. But he was a cool guy, always gave really good advice. And I had seen him work with a lot of other customers too. And he was just awesome. I mean, a lot of people loved him. Very respected guy in the fish keeping world. So I was in there one day, and I don't remember what I was in there for, but we got to talking about Arowanas. And I was telling him, or I think I might have been telling him, I just got an 8-foot tank for my Arowanas, and I'm super excited. In fact, I know it's coming to me now. That is what I said to him. And he said, "Oh, that's a mistake." And I said, "Wait, I bought him an 8-foot tank. That's a good thing." He said, "Nope, that's a huge mistake." And I said, "Well, explain yourself." And he says, "The problem with Arowanas is that they jump out of the tank." I said, "I know. That's why I'm getting him a big tank, so he's not confined and he doesn't want to jump out." He said, "Nope. You're making a mistake when you put him in a big tank." Please understand, folks, I'm going to add text when I re-upload this. This is not my advice to you, okay? I'm telling you a story that somebody told me. He said, "No, this is a bad idea. Putting them in a larger tank like this is a bad idea. You need to keep them in as small a tank as possible." And I said, "Well, what are you talking about, small tank?" He said, "I would not go over 4 feet. An Arowana in a 4-foot tank is going to be perfectly fine." And I said, "Well, what's your rationale for that?" And he said, "Here it is. If you have a shorter tank, the Arowana is not going to have the ability to build up momentum and jump out of the tank." Are the dogs outside? What do I hear something weird in there. Anyway, he said, having them in the short tank, they're not going to have much opportunity to build up speed to where they can vault themselves out of the tank. And so when he told me that, I said, "All right, that's fine. That's good. Let's talk about something else." Because I knew at that point he was not going to be able to offer me anything else about Arowanas, because that was the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard when it comes to Arowanas, and here's why. You know what a snake is? I bet you do. Do you know how a snake attacks its prey? How many times have you seen, I know there's probably some, maybe water moccasins or something. There are some snakes that go really fast, but you don't see snakes chasing stuff, like chasing a rabbit or chasing a mouse. No, the snake sits there and it just watches and it sees what's going on. And when that prey gets in the right spot, boom, the snake strikes its prey. Arowanas are very similar to that. They don't just sit there and watch the stuff, but what they do is if there's a food or another fish or something, they kind of hover. I'm sitting here acting like I'm an Arowana, but they kind of hover around and they kind of sit there and boom, they hit it really fast. They do the same thing when it comes to jumping. And I wish I could have done it. Maybe I'll try to see if Scott will let me do it when I upload this as its own video. Last week or 2 weeks ago, during King and Queen's live stream, that happened. His Arowana was just swimming along and boom, it just hit the roof, like out of nowhere. That's what these fish do. They don't build momentum. They don't get on the starting line and go ready, set, go, and start running as fast as they can and jump out of the tank. No, the whole fish will kind of kind of coil up, and then they just vault straight out of the tank. If you ever have seen an arowana try to get something that's on the surface, they kind of sit there and they look at it, and they're like wiggling around underneath it, and then they jump up and get it. They don't build momentum and gain speed and all of this. It doesn't exist. So in a shorter tank, they're going to have just as much likelihood to jump out as they would in a larger tank. Anyone who gives you the advice that arowanas don't need big tanks, they are morons. Don't listen to them. Never take advice on arowanas from them ever again. Putting it back on 2 cameras. That was the silliest.
Can you turn the AC off? I'm freezing my butt off.
Fine. So, next thing is diet. Size tank is important. Diet is important. These fish want to eat meat.
Yeah.
They love meat. They love protein. And they will absolutely eat fish, but we're good fish keepers, right? We're not going to feed our arowanas live feeder fish because they're gross and they're full of disease and they don't add all that much nutrition to the fish. So instead, what we always did, I was responsible for feeding the arowanas. I don't think you ever fed them.
I don't know. I gave them the, what do you call the sticks? What were those?
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Basically, she bought her fish and put it in my tank, and it was mine then. And that's how it all worked.
But it
So
was still mine.
what I did, my routine with feeding my arowanas was I fed them 4 different things. The easiest was the carnivore sticks from Hikari. I love those. They float. They're about 1/2 inch long sticks, and you put a handful of them in there, you walk away, and everything's good. And they float, so the arowanas, they're always going to be up at the top of the tank anyway, so they just go through and they just skim them, and it's awesome. It's perfect.
We need an arowana in this room right now to take care of those flies that keep jumping on your
Yeah,
head.
these flies are going to be scary because if they land on the glass tops of that tank, that arowana is going to try to get them. Anyway, the other thing that I would feed them that is pet food store-bought from a pet store, I was a huge fan, and I still am, though I haven't bought them since we lost our arowanas, of the Tetra Jumbo freeze-dried krill.
Oh, yeah.
These are very expensive, but like we've bought bulk freeze-dried krill before and repackaged it
yeah.
and sold it on our under our own label. We've bought freeze-dried krill from a lot of different places. Corey has freeze-dried krill. It's awesome. It's great. But I think the best one on the market is Tetra. It's that blue and red can. It is amazing. It is expensive, but it's absolutely worth it because these are like whole shrimp. Some of them still have the eyeballs on them, and they're big. They're monster. They're almost like popcorn shrimp. And also, you pay, oh, there's Corey. You pay extra money for these shrimp, but you
Corey.
also don't get all of the little bits and the little junk floating around in your tank like you would if you bought it from us back in the day. So I love the Tetra Jumbo freeze-dried krill. Expensive,
I think he even
but
tried
good.
it himself, pretty
No,
sure.
that's ridiculous. The other 2 things that I did, and this is very, very simple to do, it was buying from the grocery store tilapia and frozen shrimp. We, here in Virginia, we have Food Lions, and we have, of course, Walmarts and Giants and stuff. But we have 2 Food Lions in King George, and there were always sales going on with these shrimp, where you buy a bag of these frozen shrimps, you give them your MVP card, and you get a free bag. So buy one, get one free. And sometimes it would be the little ones that are like popcorn shrimp, which were awesome. Those were great because if the arowanas are smaller, you just pop them in there and they eat them whole. It was awesome. So my routine was I would take however many of them out of the bag, put them in a cup, get tank water in the cup, and I would sit it there and let them thaw out while I go and feed all of the other fish. And then I would, once they're thawed out, I would either cut them up and throw them in, or when they were big, I mean, when they were pushing 30 inches, I threw even the jumbo frozen shrimp in there whole, and they would just bloop, one gulp, and they're gone. It was awesome. The tilapia, I would slice them and then cube them, and then put servings. This is so nerdy, but we all do this. I would put servings into sandwich bags and then freeze those. And then every day pull one out and thaw it out. And then once it's thawed out, you've got your little cubes and you just throw them in there and they eat them and it's perfect. The only thing that I would warn people on when it comes to feeding arowanas is they can injure themselves. And one of mine did. And it was pretty sad, actually. They've got the two,
Oh, yeah.
what are they called, barbels? I call them barbels, but I don't think that's what they're called. But it's kind of one of those staple features of an arowana. You know, these things. And one of the things that you have to watch out for is if you drop food in that sinks, it's going to sink down to the bottom. If you have an abrasive substrate in there, like a sand or a sharp gravel, if it's sitting there, the arowana doesn't gracefully come along and gently scoop it up off of the substrate. It, like I showed you earlier, it's going to sit there and it's going to look at it and it's going to hover over top of it, and then boom, it's going to strike it, and they can injure themselves on your substrate.
See you later, Haley.
That's one of the reasons why we are going to have no substrate at all in our arowana tank that you will see right here someday in all of its glory. There will be no substrate at all. The other thing that, this is just part of the conversation that I want to mention, we're going to have stingrays in the tank with them. 2 arowanas, 2 Matoro stingrays. That's the dream. That's what we're going to have. I've had it one time in my life, and it was the happiest time of my life. Another thing that is risky, I think a lot of people dream of arowanas and stingrays. I mean, it's one of those things that a lot of people really, really love about this hobby. The other thing is with stingrays, what we found a couple of times and never resulted in any injuries, but you would have the stingrays are really cute when they eat because they get over top of the food and they just sit there and munch on it, and they're kind of like inflating, and it's adorable to watch them eat. But what we experienced a couple of times was there would be a shrimp laying right here and then another one right here. The stingray would come along and get on top of this one, and a little bit of his disc would be covering up the other shrimp. And then the arowana would come along and boom, and hit that shrimp. And there was a couple of times where I was afraid that it would have hit the stingray. And so what I ended up doing after that was I would feed the arowanas first, basically holding the shrimp above the water so that the fish sees it. When they start coming, drop it, and they would just scoop it up. It was real easy and really nice. And I also fed the rays by hand, either putting my hand on the bottom of the tank with the shrimp sticking straight up, and they would just come cover it up, and then I'd let them go away with it. Or I would hold it on the side of the glass, and they would come up the glass, the side wall of the tank, and take it out of my hands. That was a lot of fun, and it was fun to do if you had guests over, because they're like, oh my God, it's a stingray, and you're feeding it by hand. So that was a lot of fun to do. But that's how obsessed I was over these fish, and that's how obsessed I'll be when we get the new ones. I'll feed them by hand if I have to. I don't like feeding arowanas by hand because they will take part of your hand and it hurts. But stingrays don't. I mean, there is the threat, I guess, of them stinging you, but I've never even come close to being stung by a stingray. So not afraid of that at all. So yeah, tilapia, shrimp, frozen shrimp whole, the jumbo, tetra, krill, or any freeze-dried krill. Corey's got it. Order it from his. I think the krill that Corey has is the same as what I used to carry. If not, it's very similar, and it's good. Just as good a quality as far as the nutrients for the fish. They're just not as perfect as the tetras. The tetras are like, it's the whole shrimp. It's beautiful. But yeah, those are really expensive, so I'm sure they're significantly cheaper to get the krill from Corey. And then the cichlid sticks, the super carnivore, super floater stick, whatever, definitely good for them. And there was a time there where that's all we fed was those sticks when they were smaller. So as they get bigger, you can increase the size of the food that you're getting. And I remember the one time it was the most glorious thing ever. We were at Walmart and they had tiny, tiny shrimp. They were like smaller than popcorn shrimp. I don't even know. They're like the little itty bitty shrimps that you would find like in egg rolls.
Salad, like the salad shrimp? Is
They
that
were
what you're talking
they
about?
were micro shrimp. They were so small. I don't know. We bought like 4 bags of those when they were at Walmart. But those were really good too. The frozen shrimp is what I'm talking about. That's what I fed them. I didn't make any food for them. And as far as store-bought pellets or anything like that, it was the Hikari Super carnivore floating sticks. That's what I fed them. So as far as water parameters go, we've never made a big deal out of water parameters when it comes to arowanas. And when I talk about parameters, I'm not talking about you're not doing your job and the nitrates are really high. I'm not talking about those parameters. I'm talking about pH, GH, KH. We've never made a huge fuss over those, and we've never had a problem with our fish, and I don't know anybody really that has. Yeah. I mean, anywhere, we've had arowanas in a pH anywhere from 6 all the way up to 8, and they were flawless. They never had a problem with that at all.
I don't really think we've ever had them in a very low pH. Well, you did your own water before.
Oh, that's me.
So that's why you're saying that. When you lived in the other house and you had to do your own water, and is that what you're talking about?
That was the RO water.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. Well, that was because I had to.
I didn't want to say RO water because I, for some reason, always say Oreo. Just another thing for somebody to make fun of me.
She also calls the Orioles the Oreos.
Oh, the team, the Oreos, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I don't like them anyway, so who cares, right? I'm a Nats fan all the way. As long as I say Nationals right, that's all that really matters. So, yeah.
I mean, I've lived in 3 different counties and had arowanas in all 3 counties. 1 was on a well, 2 were on wells. The rest were on city water. I never had to do anything to the water to get it to meet the requirements of arowanas. It was always perfectly fine right out of the tap. That's not the hardest part for arowanas. Like I said, keeping the water clean is absolutely critical. You have to imagine these are big fish. Big fish eat big food. They have big poops. It's absolutely essential to keep the water clean. So with tanks, with an arowana tank, needs to be big filtration, needs to be clean. You need to be on a routine maintenance plan and never deviate from that. I mean, keep the water clean for these fish. Give them a good diet like we were talking about. It's not going to be a problem. They're very simple. I don't think I am going to re-upload this because it's going to be like a 45-minute long video. What am I doing here? Geez, we're just going on and on and on and on. I don't know how much more there is to say about arowanas.
What about decorations? I mean, you don't want to have fancy decorations in the tank. You really don't need it, not for arowanas.
No, you certainly don't.
No.
Well, REO Speedwagon was a good band at one time.
I love REO Speedwagon.
I caught a drumstick from the drummer from REO Speedwagon at one of their concerts. I don't know where that came from, but no, decorations, I wouldn't. An arowana is the prettiest decoration you've ever seen.
Yeah,
so,
you don't need anything else. So.
But
I'm just saying, somebody might decide they want to get arowana. Let me get some really cute decorations, and that's just a waste of money because you don't want to worry about it.
Well, and
You
I've
don't need it.
never.
They're going to be up top anyways, mostly.
Yeah, I've never known them to be plant killers. I've never known them to be destructive like Oscars are. We're going to have Oscars with our arowanas too. So for us, we may have one thing in the tank, which would be, where is it? A big piece of driftwood right in the center of the tank. It's not going to look big in this tank, but it's actually, if you go back and watch that video of our original 240, it's the piece of wood that's in there. It's actually sitting right there. I just can't get
It's
it.
the one Rena likes to
Yeah,
play
let me
on.
go grab it. I'll go grab it. I'll put the camera on you.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I see. I want to say thank you to Jessica Taylor for your $2 super chat. Can't wait to see the new setup. I can't wait for us to get this set up start it. Trust me, it's a lot of work, and John's doing most of it, I have to admit, because I'm just a girl and I can't pick everything up on my own. So, have to have John. He's a strong man, so. But I can fill tanks up with water, and I can take care of tanks, and I can feed fish, and I can do all that. But yeah, so go ahead, show them your.
Did you thank them both? Oh, there's one guy. Just
Yeah, no, I hadn't got there yet. You came back, so I thought.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, Dylan Tiford, 2 99-cent super chats. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and thank you for supporting KG Tropicals.
And hold the presses. Since you don't get the notifications and I do, we just had a patron pop through. Owen Turner joined the free swimmer level of
Owen
Patreon.
Turner? Yay.
Awesome. Thank you
I've
so
seen
much for
him
that.
in the chat tonight.
Okay, so here is the piece of wood that I was talking about. It's a giant, amazing piece of driftwood. Usually, I have it sitting kind of like this.
Oh, that's not the one I was thinking. I thought it was the other one.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty cool because the Arowanas will swim through it and stuff like that. It's really, really neat. It's really dirty. I got to clean it up, but this is probably going to be the only thing that'll be in that tank at all. Not even any substrate. So.
Dylan, you're from KG and you graduated as a Fox. What year did you graduate? Just curious.
Yeah, and those are the 99-cent super chats. Those are probably the free super chats that you get for being premium members. I get those too. Those are awesome. I like to give them out to my other YouTube friends.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, that's cool. It's awesome.
2017, so you graduated with one of our daughters. Who graduated in 17?
Skylar.
17? Oh, okay. So you
Wasn't
graduated
it
with Skylar.
2 years?
Jordan was the year 2016, and Skylar was 2017. No, yeah, that's right. Well, you probably know our kids.
Probably do. On the topic of driftwood, somebody just asked, how long will it take for wood to stop leaching? You should answer that
Oh my
because
gosh, it takes a while. I'm not gonna lie. I've had my 75 going since October. I did everything I could before I put the wood in the tank. I cleaned it. I boiled the water. I let it soak for days, and I stuck it in the tank. And I still get like tannins, and it still gets dark, and it's just time. I guess it's just time. It takes a while, but
you can do it though. I mean, if they're smaller pieces of driftwood, boil them in a huge pot like you would put a turkey in.
I did it, but I didn't.
Well, what you do is you boil water, you put it in there, the water will turn black like tea. You pour the water out, you put more in, you keep doing that over and over and over again until it's not turning the water black.
But
That's
I
what you
honestly
do.
don't mind it, so it doesn't bother me. I even buy stuff to sometimes turn it, not on purpose. I just buy certain things to put in the tank because I know that my tetras like it. And so it turns like a tea color, and John doesn't like it, but I really don't do it intentionally. It's just I know the stuff that I put in there is what they like, and I don't care as long as they're happy, and I like my tank the way it is, so John can just turn around and look at his own tank.
Damaged 262 said, I had half my teeth removed yesterday, stupid radiation. So I'm hurting. Everyone be well. See you soon. I dream of having not half of my teeth, but every single one of them removed. And just be like, hey, everybody, it's Don from KG Tropicals. I want them all out. I want to get them all out and be done with them and get implants. I want to be a man that gets implants. So yeah, with the driftwood, with this one, this piece of driftwood cost me like $150. I bought it, I don't even know when it was. It was probably 10 years ago when I bought that piece of driftwood that I just showed you. And it was driftwood that was already cleared out. Like there was I put it in my tank day one, and it never tinted the water at all. Which is good because a piece that big Really, the only way you'd be able to do that would be to have a giant aquarium, like sitting outside, and you just soak it for months and months and months until it stops turning the water brown. It's terrible. I mean, it is a hard thing. She likes it. I don't.
I don't mind it.
All right.
Okay. Oh, Dylan, I see. I was the class president and made the speech saying, please stand up if you are. You know what? I was there for your graduation because it was also Skylar's graduation. So, yeah, I do remember that. And also the cool thing is it was on YouTube. The whole graduation was put on YouTube. So that's really cool. It's a great thing.
Skylar Hudson and Sam Cropper would be the two that we had in that graduation.
Yeah.
Sam's not my son, he's my nephew, but
Yeah.
Denny's Aquatics says, I want to become a patron. Well, you go right ahead and do it, sir. It's no problem. All you can do is click the button and decide which one you want to do. I love your channel. Thank you for all the hard work. Yes, thank you very much. I'm just skimming through here, seeing if we can find a party somewhere.
Party. Yeah, okay.
If you do not have a big tank, Lisa, KG Tropicals, I always suggested the African butterflu. He meant butterfly fish. I agree, do not get an arowana unless you have a big 8-foot tank. Yeah, I mean, you know what? You do have people, Scott is a great example of this from King and Queens. The King and Queen cichlids, he has his 2 arowanas in a 6-foot tank. He's known all along that he was going to get this bigger tank. He went and got his bigger tank a couple of weeks ago, showed it on video and all of that.
And got the coolest fish ever.
Oh, he got those sturgeons, which is absolutely insane. I loved that video of him revealing what those were.
They were so
Awesome.
adorable.
And that's, if you can do it that way, you're doing it right. The problem is you buy the 4-foot tank, you buy your arowanas, and you buy a couple of pacu, and you're like, they'll be fine in this tank. I'm only going to have them in here for a year. And then all of a sudden, something happens. What is that thing that happens? I don't know, but something happens that halts you from getting that bigger tank. So just be patient. If you're young, it's going to be hard. I understand, trust me, but just be patient. Don't torture the fish. Wait until you can get a tank big enough for them. And what is the minimum size? Like I said, I don't even like telling people to put arowanas in a 6-foot tank. Jardinis, I think, would be fine in a 6-foot tank because they don't get, I think they max at like maybe 24 inches. They're also not as attractive. They're cool fish, but they're not quite as attractive as silver arowanas. They're almost like a cross between silver arowanas and Asian arowanas. But an argument could be made that silver arowanas are the best looking of all of them anyway, just because they're so long and they fold in half and all of this kind of stuff. But everyone's dream is the super red. I mean, that's what I would have if I could just get one. But 6-foot absolute bare minimum, and understand if you have a 6-foot tank, yes, you can go ahead and get an arowana, but you're gonna need to put them in something bigger, and it's gonna need to be fast. These fish, if you take care of them, they can grow like an inch a month. That's a foot a year. So if you say, well, I'm gonna buy this arowana, it's 12 inches, and I'm gonna put them in an 8-foot tank in a year. Well, that fish is going to be 24 inches at that year, so you better mean it, and you better do it. And again, the ultimate advice, though, would be don't do it. Just wait until you do get that big tank.
Right.
You can have that to look forward to. That's what I'm going through right now. I'm looking forward so much to getting the arowanas. I still don't know where I'm going to get them from.
Nope.
I was talking to Scott about going up to Maryland. He was telling me a place up there that always has larger arowanas. I'm not trying to buy a 2-foot arowana, but I want to get one that's 14 to 16 inches to start with. Because think about it, an 8x3x2 tank with an arowana that big in it, it would look ridiculous. So I know they grow fast, but I want to start off with maybe 12 to 14 inches. And he knows a place, and he told me that we'll meet at a place, and hopefully that place will also have the stingrays, and we can get all 4 fish at the same time. So that's the ideal thing. It is very, very difficult to wait, but that's exactly what we're doing. Somebody asked where to go. Michael Johnston asked, what's your opinion on Jardinis? I like them. I've had them. I almost bought a black Jardini one time. I like them, I just don't like them as much as silvers. I mean, they're awesome, but they're just not, they don't do the same thing to me that the silvers do. But then again, the silvers are what got me into it. So that's that. What do you got?
I'm freezing to death.
Oh, for crying out loud.
I'm sitting here holding my arms.
I'm
trying not to
sweating and she's
freeze.
talking about freezing.
Yeah, I should have just worn a t-shirt, but it's so hot out here. If you live in Virginia, you know it's been hot and humid and nasty and disgusting. So anyway, yeah.
I want a platinum. Yeah, don't we all want a platinum? I've seen them, and there was actually platinum Arowana available. Who is it that's got them? That place down in Florida's got them right now. And I actually thought about buying them. What is that place? He's got a YouTube channel, something Predator Fish. Oh, daggone it. It's a really cool channel, this guy that specializes in all predator fish. He's got platinums, and they're not outrageous as far as the cost. So I thought about getting those from him, but I don't know. Hopefully somebody puts the name of that channel in there because it's going to drive me crazy. Predatory Fins, there it is. Yep, that's what I was talking about. He's got the albino silver Arowanas pretty cheap. Maybe that's what I saw, not the platinums.
I believe
platinums
you did,
too, yeah.
You did tell me albino, though. When you came up with the idea, you were like, yeah, albinos, those would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. But, I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I think that would be awesome. But if it's just plain old silvers, I'm going to be totally fine with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course, Scott would know where to get monster fish. Yeah, he definitely does.
Yeah.
He did a video at this shop that I'm talking about. I forget what the name of the shop is, but he did a like a shop hop and showed this shop, and I don't remember what it's called, but it's very, very nice, and it's somewhere up in Maryland, and yeah, I think that's probably where we're going to end up going, unless I end up calling those guys at Predatory Fins. That might be the thing to do. I don't know, but getting them shipped.
But speaking of King and Queens, if you haven't seen their latest video, you should definitely check it out because those are the coolest little fish. That was an awesome video. So.
The one with the sturgeons.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
I
You
know,
remember
but
talking about that 20 seconds ago?
I know, but it's not like you said, hey, you should go check it out. I'm saying you should go check it out because it's really cool. I was like, oh my God, they're so cute. The first time I ever saw one was at the Aquatic Experience, but it was huge. It was like a really big one. So when we saw the little ones on Scott's channel, I was like, wow, that's cool.
Arowana scales remind me of tarpon. Yeah, I mean, the scales are awesome, especially if you are lucky enough to have a large Arowana without any damaged scales. They're just amazing. The pearls, they look like a bunch of pearls. They are absolutely awesome. The link just sends me to the main page. Dylan, are we talking about joining the channel here or becoming a patron? I'm not sure which one that is, but both of them have buttons. If you're trying to become a member of the YouTube channel, should be a join button down below the video. If you're trying to become a patron on the Patreon page, you go to that and you just click Become a Patron, and it's very, very simple. And look at Allie Patton. I mean, really?
She spoils us, I tell you.
Doing tank maintenance and listening. Happy 4th. There is a lot of people that say that's what they do when our stream is on.
Allie did mention, though, something. I don't know if you saw it. You were talking. I was going to say something, but she's getting her teeth done, too, on July 31st. So, sorry.
I'm so jealous of that.
Yeah, but I feel bad for people that get dental work done.
Don't feel bad at me. Whenever I get it done, and it will happen, whenever I get it done, don't feel bad for me. Celebrate with me because there's not going to be any more pain. There's not going to be any more doing this when I smile. It's going to be glorious. I can't wait. It's going to be the best day of my life. I don't care how much it hurts. I will take the pain. I don't care. Just do it. Get them out. Just take them.
Wait 10
You got a
years
wrench?
for Kenzie.
Yeah, our 17-year-old wants to be a dentist. I don't think I can go that long, though. I might not be able to go another 10 months. So, anyway, it's probably time to start wrapping it up, isn't it? We've gone through everything I wanted to go through.
Jacob's Exotic Beta Fighter Breeding Room says, John, you're such a gentleman, willing to suffer in the heat for his Lisa.
I don't like it. I mean, what choice do I have? It's either do it and be happy or not do it and hear it afterwards. So.
Now, I wanted to ask a question. She's Bubble Nest. Okay. Where are you located? Are you in Pennsylvania? Somewhere?
You know, get her to just say where she lives on YouTube
No,
for
I
everybody
didn't say
to know.
what county, zip code, tell me your street address. I just said what state? Because I think you live not too far from us, right? I mean, when I say that, 5-6 hours, I think, right?
If you live nearby, you could be the next live guest on Tank Talk Live with us here tonight. Not tonight. Probably too late.
I thought it was Pennsylvania. That's okay. Cool. So you're not too far from us. You and Susie ought to come on down sometime.
I mean, Pennsylvania's got her, got Rachel, got Scott and Liz. They're in Pennsylvania, aren't they? They're not in New York.
I thought they were a little bit more. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. I'll be in Pennsylvania probably a lot again this winter for tournaments.
Well, you can go by and see her.
Yeah, we'll have to have
all
like a
kinds of
lunch
fun.
or something, a girls' lunch, everybody get together.
Lisa does echo sometimes. John, you never do, but she does sometimes. It's her microphone or setup or location. Huh, I wonder why that is.
Probably just my voice.
That's weird. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm going to watch this again, and hopefully I can fix that for next time. So, I wish I had brought you. See, you're going to be mad if I tell the story about
Another story?
about the Funko that I got the other day about the pop. You're going to be mad because it's not yours. I went into a customer's house the other day for work.
Oh, yeah.
And she had a John Wick pop, a John Wick Funko Pop, and I saw it and I said, "Oh, that's so cool! You've got John Wick. That's awesome!" And we get to talking, and she's a Funko Pop fanatic, and I start telling her, "Yeah, I've got somebody collecting. I've got my fiance is collecting the Game of Thrones pops for me, and I'm not allowed to buy them. She's the only one that's allowed to buy them." And she goes, "Do you have the Night King riding on the ice Viserion?" I said, "No, but I've seen it and I really like it and it's really cool." And she goes, "Oh, yeah. Hold on a second." And she disappears. And she's gone for like 10 minutes and I hear stuff being thrown around and I'm like, what's going on in here? And I'm fixing her recliner. She comes down with one in the box and says, "Here you go." And just gives it to me. Brand new Night King Funko Pop riding on Viserion. Coolest thing ever. She just gave it to me. She just said,
So what's
"Here it
this
is."
man do? He comes home with a gift from another woman. And her name was not Allie Patton. I did not approve.
I mean, yeah, but that's not why she's mad. She's mad because I had promised that she would be the
I
only
would
one
be
that
the only one
buys
to get 'em.
the Game of Thrones ones. And, that's fine. But I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Say, no, you can't give me that expensive Funko for free because, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not silly. But, yeah, I mean, and it was just because this lady was just a nice lady. I mean, she's like, "Here, I've got an extra one. You can have this one." Like, are you kidding me? I pulled money out of my pocket. I said, "Let me give you some money for it." Nope, just take it. I guess I did a good job fixing her recliner. So that was a beautiful thing. I got so many toys this week. We can't even talk about all of those, though. Killing the Funko prices, though. I don't even know how much they cost because she won't let me buy them. So the only ones I've bought are the baseball one, and I think it was like $20 at the stadium. And that was Max Scherzer. You bought the next one. I don't know how much you paid for it.
Yeah.
But, okay, so let's start wrapping things up here now. Chad Krotz, again, has decided, you know what? Being a channel member and being a patron, it's just not enough. Take more of my money. He came through with a $5 super chat for the Get Candy Overhauls to Virginia for Tank Talk Live Fund. How cool would that be?
That would be awesome.
That is a long trip. We can't bring Candy without bringing Caleb, too.
And
though.
Stacy, you got to bring the whole family.
I mean, got to do the whole crew. That would be awesome. So, yeah, I mean, you know what? It seems like right now, Rack is going to be the first guest sitting here with us. That is the 29th of August. is when he will be here. So unless somebody else steps up between now and then, he's going to be the first guest. And so that is going to be very, very cool. I'm excited about that. We're going to have to figure out what we're going to talk about. Did we get another patron here? I see 5.
Yeah.
We did. Dylan Tieford, this is the one that lives in King George, became a patron, and he's watching. So we'll still send you a message through Patreon.
Yeah.
We'll still do that.
Thank you very much.
But
a fellow KG person.
that's awesome. How do you like that? So thank you to everyone who did
I guess
that.
our kids weren't mean to you or anything, so that's good.
He didn't-
I say that joking, because our kids went to school with you and all. I mean, you know how kids are, but just kidding. Thank you so much, Dylan.
Yes, very nice. And thank you to everyone that came through with the super chats. Let me see if I can get to the screen
Oh,
that
look,
has
it's,
everyone.
Kevin. Hey, Kevin, you going to stop by and see us sometime?
Kevin Green's on his way.
Yeah, see you in about, what, are you driving? 3 days?
Okay, so let me go through this real quick. King and Queen Cichlids, who's not here right now. Dan Dupuis, John Woodside, Steve Davis, Dan Dupuis again, Moonstone KK, Jessica Taylor, Dylan Tieford, Allie Patton, Chad Krotz. Thank you all so very much for the super chats. That is very generous of you. Thank you to all of you for hanging out with us here on the 4th of July. I guess it's time for everybody to go watch fireworks. It's storming here. I heard rain. So
We have a cookout next door to go to. I got the text saying, come on over.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they can wait. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yep, that will be fun. So, yep, we're going to go do that. It has been so much fun hanging out with all of you. And I said I'm going to, maybe, here's what I'm going to do with that Arowana segment. I'm going to just edit it into like maybe a 10, 12 minute long video, hopefully. Take out some of the fluff. I'm still going to do it because I said I was going to do it.
Rambling and all that
I'll take out the story about the guy saying put him in a smaller tank. I'll take stuff like that out and make it a shorter Arowana only video, and I will upload that tomorrow. 10 Things will be Sunday, which is the one that was supposed to be last Sunday, and then I'm going to try to put a vlog together for you for this week.
Fun with the last 10 things. I was disappointed it couldn't go up.
It was a lot of fun. She killed it on that episode, and so we can't not put it up. So, yep, this has been a lot of fun. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say goodbye to everybody, and then I'm going to let you have it, and you can say what you want to say and say goodbye to everyone.
Wow, okay.
It's all up to you.
Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of 4th of July. And, happy Thursday and have a great weekend. And we can't wait to see you next Thursday. Definitely stay tuned for Sunday's 10 Things because I think it's going to be fun. I had a good time with that. I added a few extra things I normally don't do, and it was fun. So anyways, have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week.